Wagwan Mandem, welcome to another Ravi Naafiri guide video. This will be my first guide for season 16, right? So yeah, so the last guide that we dropped was in December covering runes, right? So this one we're gonna be, since we already talked about runes in the previous guide, right? The runes hasn't changed at all. So the only thing that we're gonna be talking about here mainly, right, is builds, like how to put the builds together, right? I'm not gonna go too in depth about XYZ in terms of certain items like I've done in previous videos. You can go check those out there on the channel, just find them if you want an in-depth explanation for some of the items. But I will try to explain anything that's new and anything I feel like that needs to be really discussed right now. I'll probably just still talk about it the in-depth way. So, and if you're new here, right, I am the best Naafiri in the world, rank 1 Naafiri. I've been rank 1 pretty much since release, rework and rework. I know some people are like, oh, this one but I mean, you can see right here, like this is the website that you should be using if you're actually looking up those stuff. So yeah, one trick strategy. I've had accounts, I've been ranked 1 2 3 4 I think it's the year before last year, and so forth. So, and I've been challenger since season 8 before Naafiri. So I've been challenger for a long while, right? And so in this guide, right, I'm really trying to just get the information to you guys because I realize a lot of people are just building in some odd ways, which can be for fun, right? But truthfully, in terms of like the most optimal builds, they're not optimal at all, right? So I'm just going to try to like say what is the most optimal way to build Naafiri, right? And that's what I focus on. I focus on the way to get you to like play Naafiri in the most optimal way, right? Yes, you have, you know, different stuff you can do, but I'm trying to do the build that is most practical, that will be a good service to you in like all of your games, right? And that's why I have come up with numerous builds, right? And I've taken inspiration from some people as well, right? Other Naafiris out there. But anyways, let's get into it, right? So the first build I want to talk about is my favorite build, the caster build. Now, when I say caster build, right, some people are like, some people call it Bruiser, but I don't call this Bruiser build because I have a different build that I would consider Bruiser, right? So that is why I don't call this build. I try to differentiate it. And caster build kind of focuses on, like, for example, like Ezreal. You know, he's a caster champion because he throws a lot of spells, right? Does auto attack a lot too, but point is, right, caster build is supposed to be for, you have a lot of CDR, you have a lot of damage that you can just spam spells and just get your damage off. Basically, you don't have to go melee range always, but of course you're gonna have to go melee range at some point, right? But this build just gives you the ability to play against more difficult champs, right? But it's also very good at diving too because you have so much CDR and you have a lot of damage, right? So that's what all the builds are really for anyways, right? Or when you're playing Naafiri, right? This season, I want to say, I think the last time I dropped a video like this, Doran Blade and Doran Shield got changed. So what happens is that Doran Blade is a lot better on Naafiri since the fact that it gives Omnivamp now, right? And where Omnivamp works, I think they changed it. I believe it does full effectiveness versus champions, and then minions it's reduced. So even AoE gets full healing versus champs. But the point is, right, it's better than the last one, which was lifesteal, because Naafiri base AD is very low, very, very low. You can go check. She has one of the lowest base AD in the entire game, especially for an assassin or carry damaging champion, whatever, right? So yeah, some mages have like the same base AD as Naafiri, just to put in perspective, but her dogs do make up for it. So that's, but you're not gonna benefit from lifesteal, but Omnivamp you do. Doran Shield still good. Though they got nerfed, so the thing is that you're gonna take Doran Blade more, Doran Blade less compared to what you were taking before, right? Because Doran Blade scales. Now, to just put it in there, right? When do you go Doran Blade versus Doran Shield? As I said, Doran Shield is good if you are having difficulty surviving the level 1 to 4, level 1 to 5 period, right? If you're trying to get to like an item and you're being forced out of the lane because you're taking too much damage, then you should go Doran Shield. Otherwise, it's always Doran Blade, right? Longsword start, we don't do that anymore because they've made these items a lot better. You notice nobody's usually taking do Longsword start anymore because they're like, we don't like that start. So yeah, so Riot has been buffing these items over the years. That's why we don't do longsword anymore, right? Just to all right. And into the items, right? So the first items you start with is Eclipse, into Spear, and then into Sorella. That is like the core, like main setup that you would do. Now, when I say this is the core setup, right, I mean that this is generally what you go if you're doing this build. But the beauty with Naafiri is there's so many different items that you can build for different setup, different matchups, and so and so. So there's a lot of ways to adjust your build, right? But this is typically how it looks, right? But you go these items, right, and then you might drop a Edge and Knight if you're trying to you're like, okay, I feel like there's one target I want to get on, I'm gonna go Edge and Knight. Or you want serpents, right? So you're like, okay, let me take out the shields, so and so, right? But here's the thing, even though you're doing that, you can put it with Death Stance and Maw as well, depending on what you need. So what I preach on my channel, or just in general, is to build what is needed. So I try to teach you why each item is good on Naafiri, so that you can be like, oh, okay, in my own game I'll do this build, right? This is the item I should build, right? So even though I have the caster build like this, it's the way to define like what the items should look like, but you can change it up. So for example, even though I have Spear here, you could go Serpent second if you need Serpent. So against Yasuo, Yone, they go Shield Bow second, and then they have a Millie on the team, or a Karma, or they have Ambessa, you're gonna go Serpent second. And then after you do the Serpents, right, if you say you put the Serpent second, right, don't fear anymore, right? Do the Sorella now, because you want to get the Sorella at third item. So you basically skipping the Spear, and then after you get this, right, you can decide else what you want to go, right? So you can put in, you can build a Spear if you want afterwards. But typically what I do right now, and I don't have it here because it's new, but it is this item right here. So this item is amazing on Naafiri. Should have probably started talking about that right away, but this item is perfect for caster build, right? Because caster build means damage, right, with CDR, right? All these items really just shows you that, right? It's about damage with CDR, right? A good amount of CDR with damage. So this item gives you a lot of CDR, but it's based off the 80 that you have, total 80, right? So the point is, right, when you build this item, right, it gives you a lot of CDR based on how much 80 you have. So you don't want to rush it, right? You don't want to go at second, right? You don't really want to go at third, but you could, right? I mean, you could do it from third and fourth, right? But usually I'd prefer to have my another item before that, right? So yeah, so it's a really good item to the caster build. It's a very great addition, right? Very, very good. It gives you everything you need. The Omnivamp is good, but I mean, it's decent, and you get a kill, it moves up. You get a lot more. You move from 5%, right, to 20, because you gain additional 15 to the 5 for 8 seconds. So 20 Omnivamp, pretty really good. And the tenacity is really good because it gives you tenacity, which you can use to, like, you don't have to go mercs, or you can go with mercs, and then you're just so hard to lock down now, right? That's really, really good. Also, when you use W, you get more CDR2, which is a small like boost in, like, that's how it works. But yeah, this item is just perfect for that, right? So, and the next thing, right, is that the boots, right? I want to talk about the boots quickly. This season, if you're doing, like, typically we cast a build, right, you do the CDR boots, right? Because more CDR, better. When you're playing mid lane, right, you have the upgraded boots. So the upgraded boots make a big difference in terms of how the boots are played out. Well, not really, but it means that because it's the quest now, right, and you are playing for these stuff, right, you are playing for this, you are going to get these boots. It is very good if you actually, like, consider the upgraded version when you're building the boots. So for example, right, the biggest winner of this is the Swifties, I would say, because the Swifties give you the adaptive force, right, and that gives you 80 which I will talk about which build it actually really goes into, right? Which is the lethality build, but we're gonna get to the lethality build soon. So it goes into that, right? Which is big. You you get extra 80, and the movement speed is very good for roaming, right? So roaming, keeping up, all of that, right? Mercs, steel caps, goldies if you need what goldies versus what you need. Merc treads, very good versus CC comps. And when I say CC, not knockups, right? Although some champions with knockups is good versus. For example, Gragas, because his E is like a knock back into a stun, right? So some CC have a two-part to it. You can look into it, right? If you want to learn more about that. And then steel caps very good versus auto attack champion, not good versus champions that do 80 damage that aren't auto attacking, right? But the upgraded version though, right, gives you a little shield, which is really nice, and give you more armor. So it's a really good item. You should definitely be going this versus like Yasuo, Yone, like even Zed too, because Zed is a hard matchup, right? Because your base armor is so low, so very good to increase your armor so that you can survive versus these champs. And that's just a typical like caster build, right? As I said, death stance, you go this if you're against a lot of armor, a lot of 80 damage that you can't really avoid. So yeah, for example, I kind of like it. I'm trying to give you an example, right? Like Rek'Sai, let's see, Rek'Sai is a troublesome champion in the game. Like it's kind of hard to dodge. Like he usually walks up to you and then press the W and then you get hit, right? So it's really hard to really do anything about that. You have to like tank the damage. But if he's focusing other people, well, you don't really need it. But if he's focusing you, you're gonna need it. All right. So and same thing with Ma, very good versus heavy magic damage comps, right? That, you know, so if you're against like Bran, Mel, and let's say it's like two of these champions in the game, right? Because there are certain champions that does magic damage that you can't really avoid their damage. Like Brand, for example, he's just gonna do a lot of damage to you regardless. Same thing with Mel. So Ma is good versus them. Or even if you're against like Fizz, right? You could rush Ma too. And it's not like before, guys. You don't need to do Hex Drinker and then sit on the Hex Drinker. Ma is actually a solid item. Look at the stats. The AD, 15 ability ace, 40 magic resist. It's the same as Eclipse. You can go it. You can just rush it. You don't gotta like build Hex Drinker then. No, finish them all. It's actually really good. All right. So this is the caster build typically, right? So the next build, right, is I'm gonna go into Bruiser here. So Bruiser build it's similar to this, but the idea is different because you're focusing on items that you're focusing on durability. So you want the cleaver, right? You want this death stance. You want the spear, right? Like later on, and you can do endless with it too, right? You can do and then you can just drop on whatever boots you need. You don't have to go on a defensive boots, right? Remember, you don't have to do a defensive boots. You can switch it up based on what you need. Feel like you need more CDR, fine, right? So the idea here, right, the difference between this is that this prioritizes on, you're really focusing on damage as CDR, right? Now you can obviously do drop death stance with it, right? And so, but the idea is a little different because with this build, right, it's about surviving. So you're dropping HP items with arm resistance items. That's the key point. You're dropping HP with resistance because it doesn't, if you have a lot of HP or no resistance, champs with legendaries, right, can burn your HP, or just like HP shredding, physical damage can shred you, right? That's where these items comes in, because it gives you the resistance so you can survive versus those things even better, right? So that is the whole idea with the Bruiser build. It's simple. That's all you're doing. And I prefer to do cleaver second because cleaver is just a bigger value item than spear, in my opinion, right? If you like, if you're not doing Sorella, right, then just do the cleaver. And the reason why cleaver is nice too with this build is because once you drop the cleaver, right, you don't have to worry about building Sorella anymore. You can get straight into like these type of items that you want, right? Unlike with this build, right, if you drop this, if you build spear, right, still you have to still go like the Sorella. You still need an armor pen item, so that's why I don't do spear second. I just do cleaver because armor shred is just really nice, and it's helpful versus like all of your team or all your teammates, right? Especially if you have AD champions on your team that is trying to do damage. And typically when I'm building cleaver, right, because sometimes I might just say, hey, I'm gonna do cleaver with this, with a caster build or so, right, in quotes, caster, right? So but you still probably, it still will look like a bruiser build, right? But the idea, right, if you're trying to compete in terms of these two items, right, like sometimes people ask me, when do I go cleaver, when do I go Sorella? Cleaver, right, I go this by default. Ooh, gives you more pen, gives you more pen, gives you more AD, right? This gives you more CDR, HP. So if I'm going back cleaver, right, I'm going it because I want the armor shred and or the HP, and the movement speed is nice too, but those two are the main reasons, right? The movement speed would be good versus like Master Yi, for example, because it can't be slowed, but I'll get into when I get into the jungle build, I'll talk more about that. So with cleaver, right, you are doing, you're getting armor shred for your team. So if you're like the best black cleaver user on the team or the only black cleaver user on your team, right, then it is actually really nice to go, basically. So you get the shred for your team so that they all do more damage, right? And yeah, especially if they have champions that are building armor. Not just say tanky champions, guys. It means that they're building armor. If you're not building armor and just bunch of HP, doesn't matter. Yeah, cleaver is very good for that. Otherwise, Sorella, the slow, very good synergy with Naafiri, as I've explained before many times. The slow works with the Q. The Q is a bleed that lasts 5 seconds, right, until they land the second Q. It makes it very easy to actually land the slow, right? That's why this is good. And it also works with the dogs. So your passive, right, the dogs, when they have to auto attack people, procs the slow. So once it procs the slow, right, it allows them to catch back up to the enemy. Because you know, when you auto attack, the enemy walks out of the range. You have to stop the auto attack, so the enemy runs out of the range. So you chase them down, get an auto attack again, basically, right? That is why Sorella is very good on Naafiri. It just allows you to, you know, keep up. Now I want to quickly talk about 2 more items here, or actually 3 more. Yep. So GA, very good also, right? You can substitute a GA death stance for GA. You can also put guardian angel in the build. Let's say you don't need any magic resist that game, take out the maul, put in the GA, right? So GA, all right, so this item, by the way, as like we all know what death stance does, right? It gives you, it survives burst, basically, right? Get a kill, get a reset, cleanse the bleed, and keep moving, keep pushing. Now if you go, if in a case where you're trying to dive in to get one person, right, and or if you're in a fight where you're trying to like deny resets, for example, let's say they have a Viego or they have a Master Yi, and these champions are like a problem, GA can be a really good option there for you because it would deny the reset from them. So it buys you a lot of time, basically. But that is where GA would really come in, right? And more, and like more spots too. Like if you're feeling like, hey, I'm the biggest carry on the team and the enemy team is focusing me, you just get it. Just in general, enemy team focus you, or they can't focus you anymore, and then your team just comes in and clean them up. Right, cool. Spirit Visage, very good as a, you can, same thing like GA, you can double up the magic resist if you need, right? You can also go it instead of maul if, like, let's say you have a Sona on your team and like some enchanter like that, right? Seraphine, so forth. It gives you heals and shields, 25% increase. It synergizes with your Eclipse shield, your R2 shield, your Q heal, right? So, and yeah, it's just like really massive if you pair it up with that. And if you have endless, now we have endless hunger, we have the Omnivamp, right? This gives you Omnivamp too, so it would give you more healing on those two as well. But in Randuin's, right, it can also, this can, you can, let's say you're against some gross comps where you can't play, for example, you're against a Tristana attacking you from over 600 range, or maybe like a Caitlyn, and they're hitting you so hard and you can't, like, you're getting critted, and you're, by the time your character flies in, you're already 40% health and you're about to die. Randuin's, I would recommend going in those spots, right? You're not gonna do it a lot. There's maybe a 1 in 100 game, or 1 in, I don't know, 50, but, or you could do it more, you know, depends on what you're playing against, right? But this is a very good item to go if you're versus those things, because it reduces crit damage by 30%. Cool. So yeah, and the slow is nice for just staying on the target when you're going. So the next thing, right, that the next build that I want to talk about is Lethality build. So the Lethality build has changed since before. So this is the build that I recommend for the for lethality, right? I am going to add Swifties here because when I'm doing this build, so this is how I prefer to do the build. I'm gonna add, hold on, I'm gonna add the edge of night here, right? Yeah, this is basically how it will look. So how this works, right? It's basically voltaic, right? Now when I'm doing this, oh, also I forgot, yes, if you're doing caster build, right, you can do this with comet. I usually do it with comet runes, right? Check the guide video, the CDR variant, right? Usually do it with this, or you can do it with the resolve too. So comet page I usually run with this, and if it's Bruiser, I can do comet or conquer. I mean, the thing is, right, you can do comet, conquer, and electrocute with all of these. It really just depends on what you're facing, because I usually focus on runes for lanes, right? So it's actually all three are there for all of them, right? So just look at the rune guide if you want to know which runes that you should run, right? Because you focus runes, you play for the matchup, right? And you play for your specific matchup, and the items usually just really, but you do kind of look at runes for overall too, but yeah, but focus on your lane matchup first and foremost. So comet, electrocute, conquer, all good with these. This is what I like to go with. Like I can do all of these builds, and I'll build all these items with those 3 runes, right? But for this one, right, this one I specifically do like to do healer blades with this. So this build, right, this came about because Korean was doing it, or they're doing it on Korean server, but it's actually really good, right? So what how it works is that you have the voltaic, right, and when you auto attack you get a slow. So this changes how you combo against enemy champions, right? And I'm going to drop a combo guide, by the way. I know I should have said this earlier in the video, but I'm actually going to be dropping a combo guide after this guide. So that is the plan. So the voltaic, right, very good. When you engage with R, you can auto attack, get a slow, and burst on the target. So for here, I'm going to just explain how it works. The ideal combo is you use R into Q into auto attack into Q, because the R's are 99% slow on it. So you keep them slowed. Like you basically slow them again with the auto attack, and then land the second Q. The problem though is that obviously you need to make sure you have the damage to do this to kill them if you're doing that. So yeah, but the thing is, right, this build is very, very nice. I do prefer to go Axiom Arc with this, like almost always. I sometimes may do opportunity instead here and like put the Axiom on a back burner, but Axiom is just so strong right now. It just does so much. Getting your ulti back, right, at the rate that this item alone gives you is crazy. You don't need no Axiom Arcanist, right? You don't need no Ultimate Hunter, right? My rune guide, I don't recommend those runes because they don't offer a lot like compared to the other options, right? If you want ulti cooldown, all you need is this item. I promise you, this is all you need, and it does so much too, right? Because it gives you 20 ability ace. The reason why this item is, I was trying to say in one of my games that this is a flawed design item, because the problem is that it gives you so much CDR, and then it gives you CDR refreshing ulti. So the thing is, right, because of how it works, right, you're supposed to be building lethality to really make use of the ulti. It just feels like so much, especially in the late game. Like it feels like so much, even if you don't have that much lethality. But in this build though, we do have the lethality, so we're gonna be using it to its full potential basically. And also yeah, build order, remember when it comes to build order, this doesn't have to be like this. You go voltaic first for sure, right? But your second item doesn't have to be Axiom. It could be serpents. If you need shield break, it could be that you could just go this next, right? And then you could you don't have to go Cyril the third. You can do Edge of Night third, right? You can do the serpents third, or you can drop the opportunity like in there, you know, instead. Like you can do all of this. You would be dropping this in to basically, like, if they don't have any armor building, they're very, very low armor, squishy champions, right? Squishy, low armor. By the way, low armor if you're not building armor, guys, right? Because even if a Yumi is squishy, or Celestia Sona is squishy, we know Sona is a squishy champion, but if she building on armor, right, you need the armor pen. That's what I'm just saying. Look at press tab, look at what the enemy is building, and adjust your build. So you don't have to go Sorella third. You can keep stacking lethality, especially if you're ahead or ahead. Keep stacking that lethality because you're gonna be way ahead of the curve. And when you just with this combo, you're just gonna be able to just one-shot people, right? And so forth. So the idea behind this build, right, is full lethality is to one-shot people. So if I'm against an enemy comp where the best scenario for me to go this build is if I'm against an enemy comp, right, where I can just engage on the enemy for free basically and not worry about being stopped, right? Or I don't want to do this versus comps that are too tanky. So yeah, so for example, let's say I'm against UA, right, for as an example, this build slaps because I can just go in and kill him. Or I'm against Lux, I can just go in and kill her. Like, her root doesn't stop me, right? UA, obviously I need edge and eye or just wait out the E. But like, let me give you a better example, right? Lux, her Q's are root. Root doesn't stop your R. You can just go in and kill her, right? And if she wastes her Q, which is what I teach to do, right, is to wait till these people use their Q first and then you go in. And you can just engage at mostly at any point. You just hunt them inside lane basically. This build is going to be really nice for that. So it's just about if you can get to these targets cleanly without worrying about being CC'd to death and so and so. But that's why full lethality build is really good for those cases. So yeah, and also this build, as I said, if I'm doing Voltaic, I definitely have Healer Blades because the synergy is that Healer Blades, right, have the highest damage potential out of all the runes except Dark Harvest probably, right? But you're not doing our Dark Harvest, don't worry. You have the Healer Blades, right? So when you proc this item, you are able to slow the enemy and all your dogs start mauling the enemy with this insane amount of attack speed because dogs share 1-to-1 attack speed ratio, right, with Naafiri. You start mauling the enemy while they're slowed, and that's why this item actually is really nice because you don't want them to run away, right? And then the dogs are being kited and then you lose DPS. So if they can sit there and just auto attack with full DPS, yeah, you guys understand what I'm saying now, right? It's just like when an ADC, they stand still, right? They actually do more damage, right? Or if they're able to just free fire on the enemy, I should say. Yeah, but you get the point. Instead of having chasing the enemy while they're going out of range and so forth. So that's why this is good, right? That's why this is good with Healer Blades. Now you yeah, so I typically don't do like you could do electrocute as well with this build. It still works fine. You won't get the highest damage potential of it, but electrocute is very good for in lane to trade with the enemy that you can't just get onto. But if I'm usually with electrocute, right, I usually might do like this build, so on. So yeah, like the caster build, for example, I might do that with it. But you could do this with build with electrocute too. Don't worry about that, right? Especially also if you have the skill and the knowledge to know when to engage on the enemy, because some people lack that, right? So it's going to be more difficult for you to pull it off. So you can just do electrocute build just to be safer, because it will do its thing in lane easier, right, than trying to play off Halo Blades, right? Because Halo Blades is more difficult to use in that case. Electrocute, just land double Q with a dog hitting the enemy, that proc. Now the next build, also, right, there is some stuff I want to talk about, right? I tried this build. I'm just gonna put this in there, the Ghost Blade into Zeke's build. I do not recommend doing that build as an optimal build, by the way. Optimally, I don't recommend that because it's just not good. Basically, I tried it, it feels bad. Basically, you could build other items to get what you need done. Like, people would say like, oh, it's a cheap item so it helps you snowball. Nah, rubbish, by the way. If you need tankiness, right, just do a different build. Literally, just do a different build that actually will outperform that build in every way, right? You don't need to do that. Just build a different build. You don't need to do all of that, right? And if you're doing and what else, like, and also some people ask me like, I remember yesterday somebody asked me, I mean, it was kind of like with jungle, right? Like doing Axiom first. I mean I guess that's for jungle, right? But yeah, I wouldn't recommend doing Axiom first. Like, it's good, but you could just go Voltaic, which would help you set up kills, because Axiom is supposed to help you. You're at the stage where you can just kill people now, right? So Axiom just gives you back your ulti to go kill these people. In the early game, typically you're not killing people every single time they step towards you, right? But in the mid game, hey, if somebody's inside lane that you can kill, you can kill for easy. If you're invading versus a certain jungler, you can kill. So as long as you have your ulti up, it's a kill, right? So yeah, I don't recommend doing Ghost Blade with that build. I do think Ghost Blade is a good item though. You could do it with this build if you're trying to like, I need mobility, right? You could drop anything here for that. Well, not Axiom. I wouldn't recommend Axiom so good, but if you don't need the serpents, you could do it. You know, you don't feel like you want opportunity bursts, right? But you're having trouble trying to get to the targets. Yeah. And as I said, upgraded boots, right? This right here, this is the build, much more like this. And the slow, right? Very, very, very good with the slow effectiveness, by the way. So it's very good versus Singe and so forth. So it's really, really good versus those champs. Now I should start doing the next block now, right? Because I didn't actually prepare it, because this is for this is from the last video that I had, right? So this is my jungle build that I am doing right now. Hold on. And I'm just adding all the items that I have built. Everything. Every single one of them. And the last item here that I'm gonna add is serpents. Obviously, serpents is always good. As long as the enemy have shield, you wanna drop it. Cool. All right. So the next thing, right, is jungle. So this is the jungle section. This is the jungle build that I do like to go right now. I am currently doing a jungle climb. So this is my account. This is how it's been going. So you can see I have an 83% win rate in Naafiri, and this is the build. And this account started in Emerald 2 because it was ranked previous season, right? So yeah, this is one of the accounts. This is back in 2024 when I finished with 3 accounts trial. So yeah, it has challenger MMR. Well, it actually doesn't have the challenger MMR right now, but more like masters actually. So yeah, because I wasn't playing on it last season. But anyways, right, so this is how it's going, right? You can see the build, right? And as I said, right, I do profane into Axiom. So why profane? Why profane in jungle? Why not in lane, right? People would ask. Well, the reason why is profane gives you more clear, wave clear, right? When you're jungling, right, clearing your jungle camps is very important. The faster you clear, the better, because when you clear camps, right, you move to enemy, there's so much things you do, because when you clear a camp, you go to lane to go gank, you go to lane to go counter gank, you go to lane, you go into enemy jungle to go invade, you go to dragon to do it quickly and then leave. Like, tempo in jungle is big. It's everything, right? You don't want to be wasting time in jungle. So the faster you can clear things, the more time you get to do whatever you want. Because imagine all the camps just disappeared, right? You were able to clear the camps in 30 seconds, every single camp. Just saying, you could stand bot and just harass them, you know. So that's what I'm trying to say. So that's why clearing is very important, right? So yeah. And then the next item, right, Axiom, right? Axiom is just really nice. You're getting a lot of CDR here. You can jump over walls, clearing camps, ulti CD, because in jungle you have a lot more freedom, so you can kill people over and over and over, right? Ulti is big, and you snowball crazy in jungle because of the design of the role. When I'm following this build up, right, I like to follow it up with cleaver. Why do I do cleaver instead of Sorella? Because I go red smite, right? Oh, it doesn't show here, I guess, right? And red smite allows me to get a slow, basically. So red smite gives me a little slow already, right? And also the fact that I have so much CDR with these items, right? I can go cleaver now for the HP, right? So I can be tankier, because hey, when you do this build, you're squishier. So this build would actually be make so much sense, because you have a lot of bursts, right? And then you get the armor shred, so you have your armor pen item and HP to be tankiness. This build makes you feel so versatile, because jungle, right, junglers typically like to have a little bit of HP with them, you know, for survivability. But it's just so flexible because you have the lethality, so you can burst, one shot people quickly, right? But you also have cleaver, so you can fight, you're durable, right? You can do so much, basically. It's just very, very good. And you have Conqueror, by the way. The runes in jungle, I already talked about runes in jungle, right? Remember, cut down, I really prefer going cut down than poop. Poop does It's so bad, bro. Do not take this, bro. I swear, do not take this rune. It does not perform better than cut down in any way, shape, or form. Check all your replays. If you have coop, change to cut down now. If you check, you can go through your match history and check your rune damage. You'll be able to see. Compare them, and you literally be able to see, right? I'm not going to explain the breakdown of why is always better. Again, at this point, right? If you're not taking this rune already, you're trolling. Okay, and cosmic for the helps with smite, so it lowers the smite CD, which is really nice. So that's it with the build there, right? You go to cleaver third, right? Sometimes I actually do serpents third, and then I might grab the cleaver afterwards, right? I remember what I talked about earlier. You don't need armor pen early, right? If the enemy team, you know, not that tanky per se, but you know, prioritizing the shield break is, you know, very important. But anyways, right, so this is what I typically just do. I do the cleaver third, then serpents, or I do the I do the serpents third and then cleaver if I need shield break. Then after that, right, it's really just a flip at that point, because hey, at this point I can build whatever I want, right? I like to do endless, right? Because endless at this point gives you so much, gives you, it's gonna be better than like spear soldier in this case, right? For the damage. But I do you know, if I don't need the armor, right, so I don't go death stance, right, I can just drop the spear on top of it. I have so much seed that I can just do so much. So it's just really nice to just pair it up with this, right? And then obviously with the boots, as I said, the boots, it can be whatever you need. So this game I went Swifties because boy, they had brand and Rala is slow. So yeah, so it's very nice. This is the build here, right? Take this build if you want LP. Like, this is hard proof, you know what I'm saying? And I, by the way guys, as you can see, I don't do, like, I'm playing in all my games are against higher elo players. I don't do like smurf games and stuff. So as you can see, like, yeah, I know masters is smurfing for me technically, but I just call it an alt because it's just a climb, right? So I just try to climb through quickly. But yeah, I mean, this is my first time playing jungle, by the way. I'm a mid main, by the way. Well, top main to mid to jungle challenge. I'm not a jungle main, but I'm kind of like mid now, right? So instead of top lanes, but yeah, we're doing a jungle climb. So this is what is going on, right? And a lot of videos will be dropped regarding to this climb. Goal is to get challenger, cool, which is over 1,000 LP, right? So my main account is already challenger. So yeah, Bastion Breaker, do not build this item. I know I have a video on it that says it's essential, but that's when I was really trying it out, and how early season, really, kind of like it was like how the idea behind this item. Do not build this item. I actually don't recommend it. It costs a lot, 3,200 gold, or it's bait because it looks like it gives you a lot of lethality, but if you check, right, it says 22 lethality, right? But you're paying 3,200 for that. Hey, if you go Ghostblade, right, let's say you do Axiom, you get 18 lethality. The difference is like 4 lethality, right? But look at the cost. This costs 2,750. This costs 55. Like, this costs 3,200 for like the same AD, right? So you're paying so much for a little more lethality. You get a passive, right, which gives you a little bit of true damage, right? That is like whatever. We don't really care about that, right? But yeah, don't do this item because like okay, so let me break down why this item doesn't work right now, right? At least what it is versus what it costs versus what you're getting. All right, so make this item work, you need to be constantly taking turrets with this and play-ins, right? That's the idea behind this item. But it's the same reason why I don't build hubris, right? This item doesn't help you snowball. Hubris doesn't help you snowball. It helps you, it makes you scale harder, right? But you shouldn't, like, you don't want that. It's better you get an item that helps you snowball. This doesn't help you snowball, helps you scale, because you invest so much gold, right, for an item that isn't worth it. When you purchase it, it's not worth. You get value out of the item by taking play-ins and turrets, right? And once you do that, right, get enough gold to pay for this item, right, and then build other items. That's kind of like how it actually works if you actually want to get value out of the item. And I think it is too difficult to really play around that. Instead of going Axiom, right, where you could get Axiom, you get the ulti refresh, so you can get more kills, which equal gold, right, to keep snowballing, right? So that's why I don't recommend this item, because you could just do Axiom and actually, but way cheaper. So you're online already, and then it actually helps you kill more people. This doesn't help you kill more people, because you need to take turrets with this to get gold, to get items, to go kill people, right? Yes, you can kill people with it, but the idea, because it costs so much more, right? So that's the thing with it. So yeah, that like, just don't do this item. Riot needs to buff this, because I feel like they need to change how it works. But right now, right, the only way I could see it being valuable is if somehow you can't kill somebody, but you can hit the turret. I don't see how that's really possible, because if you can't kill them, that means you're just gonna be guarding the turret, so you're not gonna be getting it. And you can't prop this item without getting a kill. You have to get a kill, then go hit a turret, right? It can be used against dragons and barons, but we don't we don't care about that. Like, it's playing around that is just way too niche. This is 10 times more reliable to play around, because you're not. It's like an investment, right? With the returns just not being there, when you could just buy this, right, and just be ready to do. You're ready. Once you buy this item, you're ready, even if you're thinking about you want more damage, opportunity is ready. Yeah. And the next item is Umbral. This item gives you value, right, when you can actually get, if you have stealth, it gives you good value. Naafiri has no stealth, so no. Like, as long as you can get like 2 procs, like, I feel like the item is just worth. But Naafiri, like, you'd have to go into a bush to go proc that. Like, you can do other items, guys. Don't do this. You can just do other items. Maybe for support Naafiri, because some people been talking to me about support Naafiri. More people talking to me about support Naafiri. Okay, maybe you could do that with it. But yeah, I'm gonna work on that though for you, because I realize a lot of people out there actually like Naafiri support. So I might cook. Yeah, because I realize a lot of people out there, just support players, just love Naafiri. Maybe it's because she's a dog. I don't know. But yeah, and the next thing, yeah, so I talked about that, and Zeke's, I talked about this. I talked about why this island isn't worth building. It's just not real. The slow is a small circle around you, so it's hard to keep enemies in this, right, sometimes, because if they dash out their way, oh look, you no longer have a slow. That's why Surla is just far superior item in terms of slowing somebody, right? The ultimate thing that it gives you, it doesn't tell you here actually, and they need to update that, but it doesn't tell you. But you get the ultimate haste with it. Pointless once again, because you could just go Axiom and just be far better. So anyways, guys, thank you guys for watching. I love y'all, and I will see y'all in the next video. The combo video is coming next, so look out for that. Okay, well, look out for that in the next like month or so. All right, love y'all.